Is your realtor smart or dumb? That was actually what I wanted to put on the title and the thumbnail of this video. But I don't want to attack people based on their intellect, based on their lack of knowledge. That doesn't make them dumb. Are they smart or not? Seems to be a little more accurate. I was recently in a mastermind group. So this is professionals trying to help each other, and all of the people in the mastermind group are in the real estate sphere, successful investors or real estate agents. I wanted to put realtor and teach people one more time that there's 2 syllables in the word realtor. Some people need to work on that. But a question came up in this mastermind, and then there were some answers. Some I agree with, some I don't. Some that were intelligent that I agree with, some that were intelligent that I don't agree with, and then some that were just repeating rhetoric of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And before I get into the question, and I'm going to read the comments because I actually want you to share the mental experience of thinking, okay, you're in a group of professionals who should know their stuff. And so these are the realtors that new investors are going to encounter. The people who are going to be giving advice, telling them, here's what's happening in the market. Here's what you should invest in. Here's a good deal or a bad deal, or here's why your strategy is a great idea, or here's why your strategy is a terrible idea. Most new investors look at their realtor or their lender as a form of a mentor. They're in the business. They should know some stuff. And so the purpose of this video is to help you understand the dangers of trusting an agent or lender and thinking that they're smart. I have a lender friend who was a mortgage underwriter from 2000 till 2007. Great time to be underwriting all of those mortgages. In the last decade, he has watched me acquire one rental at a time, go from a negative net worth, bunch of bad debt I didn't know about until the divorce. He saw me go from a bad financial situation to financially free in less than 10 years and retire. Now, I never have to work again in my life. In that same amount of time, he's had a job that probably pays more. He's had a spouse that is making people say teachers are underpaid, but she's a teacher and she makes way more money than I was making the first 8 years I invested. And their combined income would allow them to also acquire one rental at a time. Up until 2021, he was, no kidding, a mortgage underwriter who was waiting for the crash. So didn't acquire any rentals. Since 2021, he's waiting for rates to come back down. That's the person who worked in the industry, waiting for the crash and waiting for rates to come down. What's going to happen to home prices when rates come down? Don't know that he'll ever actually own a rental. I think his spouse will. I think she's going to own several. My own personal experience with my realtor, that I made that actual mistake that I'm trying to help you avoid, is when I first started, I looked at my realtor as my mentor. I actually took him to lunch a couple of times and said, hey, I think you're my mentor. He hated the word, just an indication of his intelligence. He's smart. Let me explain. He's not just a real estate agent, because about 90% of realtors never own one rental, right? So we know that most agents might not know the rental space. They might want to sell homes, because the 4 tiers of people who will pay for a house, it goes home owner who buys based on payment, investor who buys based on yield, flipper who buys based on the amount of value they can add, and then the wholesaler buys based on the profit margin they can get between seller and buyer. So if you're an agent and you're paid on commission, which is a percentage of the sale, you're going to want to deal with the people who are paying the most. I understand it. But I found a realtor that I had known for a long time, and I've talked about him a few times in videos, but in this video, I'm going to share the 2 words that he would have bankrupted me with, would have made me continue to work for the next 3 decades. Work until you die. That was what would have happened if I had listened to him. And to let you know why I felt like I could trust him as a mentor is he wasn't just a real estate agent. He was an investor. He had about 30 rental units. He had 19 agents working for him in his brokerage, right? Or whatever they call it when realtors work together in a gaggle, a clouder, whatever you want to call them. That's a bunch of cats, by the way. But a successful investor who has many agents working for him, who has years, decades in the industry, used these two words that would have bankrupted me. He bought mostly single family homes, a lot of mobiles, bought a couple of things where there were several houses on one property, but almost all of his properties were acquired with cash. Didn't use a mortgage. And he worked in his office for decades where he could cherry pick the best deals that came in the office. He'd pick the ones that made the most sense and he'd buy them with cash. I had a negative net worth, found out about $89,000 in bad debt in my name I didn't know existed until the divorce. I got laid off from law enforcement because the 2008 housing crash, because when there's a recession, there's no more crime, so we don't need cops anymore. I started teaching people how to drive trucks, making $17 an hour. I was a single parent with 3 kids. I was just in a really not good position to have a mountain of cash to go and buy the next real estate property that I saw. So I wanted to house hack. And in my area, I was going to start with single family houses, but they don't cash flow. Still in a decade, haven't seen one that would. So I started looking at small multifamily, duplex, triplex, fourplex. Figured I could use a VA loan if I wanted to. I still haven't used it. I did a 5% down owner-occupied conventional loan to acquire that first duplex. Took me 2 years to save the down payment. But in those 2 years, I was going to my realtor friend, mentor, smart person, financially free, rentals that I could trust, who had good intentions and is a very smart person. But since he had never invested in my asset class, he had never chosen small multifamily, and he had not used mortgages, he was using, write this down if you're investing in small multifamily and you're using mortgages, he was using cap rate, which in absolutely no way whatsoever applies to small multifamily with a mortgage. That is generally used for somebody that's going to be looking at apartment complexes and then using the Cody and Christian multifamily strategy of acquiring the properties, increasing the net operating income, and generating hundreds of thousands of dollars in net worth that they can then recycle. Very smart strategy, right? But when you are in my position and you're trying to just house hack some duplexes and your goal is not a huge portfolio that you're going to scale and recycle capital with, but my goal was the right amount of cash flow with the least amount of units. I still have never recycled cash flow. I've not taken out a home equity line of credit. I've not sold for 1031. I've not done a cash out refinance. It's not my goal. Don't actually plan on doing that as an investing strategy. Now, someday, if I want to buy something stupid, I might use some of that equity and create some debt and lose some of my cash flow, but that's not investing. That's being dumb. Cap rates don't apply. And so the first couple of deals he was looking at had a decent cap rate and would lose money if you did things like, what is my principal? What is my interest? What is my taxes? What is my insurance? What are the utility costs that I might be responsible for? Based on the current rents versus the price and the rates, would I be making enough money to pay for future repairs, expenses, maintenance, vacancy? No, I would have lost money on every single deal that he was having me make offers on. I made offers on these properties. My mentor, who was successful, who was in the same industry, who was investing in the same industry, was making the offers for me on properties that would have lost money. I would have been buying alligators because the cap rate looked good. So that's why when I looked into this mastermind group and I see these professionals, I wanted to read to you some of the comments in this live stream where if you come to my live streams because you would like to ask questions of somebody who reached financial freedom starting in a bad position and did it in less than 10 years, if you come on a Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, I do my live streams and they basically last as long as the questions do. So here is the question. What emerging real estate market trends are you preparing for in 2024? It's a good question. As I go through the questions or the answers, the comments, remember, some of them I agree with, some of them I don't. Both have smart and both have dumb answers. I don't do predictions. I don't care what's going to happen to the market in 6 months or a year. I invest thinking worst case scenario. What would happen if property values dropped 50%? What would happen if rents dropped 50%? I still go and I buy the deals because there's two things that tell me when to buy real estate. It's not the market, it's not interest rates, it's not prices, it's not rents, it's not anything that anyone is predicting what's going to happen in the next 6 months or a year. So while I might agree or disagree with any of these, none of these answers that I'm going to go through should tell you to hurry and buy or to wait and buy. Anybody who's telling you to hurry or anybody who's telling you to wait, you should block, because the two things that tell you when to buy real estate have nothing to do with any of these answers. The first one, more new construction sales. Builders will come back strong, especially if rates take a dip. Right now, builders are pulling back because the loans that they're borrowing to bridge the gap between build and sale have a really high interest rate. It's hard to create a margin there of profit. So they're pulling back. So this person says, and I'm not going to use any names because I'm not trying to insult anybody, but they say, new home construction sales, builders will come back strong, especially if rates dip. So if rates dip, let's say they go back down below 5%. For a home buyer, which means building rates would come down below 10%, down to the 7s or maybe 8s. Yeah, construction might get in underplay again. And when they start those projects, how long do you think it is before those projects actually hit the sales floor? 6 months, a year. So if rates do eventually take a dip, at that point, we can expect building to increase months or possibly a year in the future. So I wouldn't say that that is something I would immediately expect to have an impact. If rates dip more than expected, prepare for increased home values and multiple offers. So new build might be the way to go. Like I said, some of these I agree with, some of these I don't. If rates dip, I expect to see home prices skyrocket, more demand. A couple of things. Right now, we have people who can't sell because of the rate lock. If you have a house and you have a 3% interest rate and you want to buy a bigger house, or you want to sell and get a smaller house because you're retiring or you're an empty nester or whatever the reason, and the next house also has a really high price because prices have continued to go up, and the interest rate's double what you currently have, you're not going to be selling so much. But if those interest rates drop, we kind of loosen up the person trapped in the interest rate lock. But that creates two sales. Right? They're going to sell the one and they're going to buy one. So supply and demand stays almost the same, but more transactions could happen. I totally agree with that. When it says, so new build might be the way to go, that's where that comment loses me. As a buy and hold investor who's investing for cash flow, I don't want a property newer than 2000. In a few years, I might move that to 2004, maybe 2005. But the newer the property is, yes, the less headaches that you can have, but you don't get significantly higher rents for a newer house. Owners think age of building, square footage. Tenants think how many bedrooms and what's the parking like and what's in the area. Age of building doesn't get you higher rents. So while I think hedge funds and large syndications can do well buying a bunch of brand new homes or homes less than 10 years old and waiting 5 or 10 years for that return that they're expecting, sure. But as a buy and hold investor who wants cash flow immediately when I buy that property, I want an older property. Significant surge in transactions if rates drop 175 basis points. I completely agree. So if we're in the 6 or 7, and if it dropped below 5, I think 5.5 even, we're going to see significant demand. That's where buyers will come out in force. This next one, someone asked me a question the other day, and let me know if you think I should make this video or not. The question was, do I suggest investing in red or blue states? Now, the problem with talking politics is if you say anything that sounds like you don't like socialism, your channel gets shadow banned. Look at Todd Baldwin. 60 to 70,000 views per video makes one video on socialism. Boom, 200 or 300 views per video because YouTube said, we don't like that content. So this question comes up and I'm going to be very vague in my answer. These are what emerging market trends in 2024 are you preparing for? This person says, Election and interest rates. Can an election impact the real estate market? Yes. Is it good or bad? It doesn't matter. I used to run a CDL school. That's what I did for the last 10 years before retiring. So I started as an instructor and was demoted slowly down all the way to the president of the company. And every 2 years, you have new senators and Republicans because the voting cycle coming in. And then every 4 years, you have a new president, right? So that's how it works in the United States if you're watching from somewhere else. You have a plan if the presidency goes to a Democrat, and you have a plan if the presidency goes to a Republican. So it doesn't mean you stop investing or you pause your investing or you get bullish or bearish on your investing. It means that you strategize whether you're investing in a blue or a red state. Not that one is better than the other. It's that you use different strategies. So in an election year, I think we're going to use the people who are predicting chaos and change to spread the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, which gets views on their channel. Because remember, when you're watching a crash bro or crash sister channel who's been consistently wrong for over a decade, the way you make money on YouTube is you understand this theory. If you want to help yourself, you tell people what they want to hear. And if you want to help people, you tell them the truth. And the truth is, what happens with rates in 6 months or a year, or home values in 6 months or a year, has no impact on a buy and hold investor. So I'm telling you the truth. That doesn't help me, because if I said there's a big real estate crash coming, it's totally okay for you to sit on your hands, sit there in fear and not take any action, it's justified, I'd get more views. So I'm trying to help you, not me. This one's a bit longer, and I'm not the best reader. So everybody who is licensed should be doing what they can to learn creative solutions to help sellers in our market who have a financially distressed property. Think negative equity, pre-foreclosures, non-performing Airbnb, etc. It's going to get worse before it gets better. These sellers have options that almost no agents are exploring for them. Instead, we're letting listings sit, expire, and cancel. Sellers need help. Very articulate answer. I think well thought out. Again, smart person, dumb train of thought. A lot of agents are losing their jobs. They're having to go back to work because in the last decade, it was a little easier to become a realtor in an uptrending price market with a downtrending interest rate market, because there was a lot of transactions happening. We were averaging over 6 million a year. In the last year, we're at less than 4 million. So we've lost a third of the transactions, which is going to impact a lot of the newer agents that don't have the history, the volume, the repeat customers to sustain their business, or the agents working for them. So this person is saying there's less deals happening. We need to get creative to help the sales happen. The problem isn't that there isn't enough demand to buy those properties. The problem is there's no supply. The number of foreclosures could double, triple, or even 5x and still be at record low numbers because we had a year where they weren't allowed. We had a year of forbearance. We had a year of rent relief. We have, coming out of forbearance, you have a 40-year loan option where you don't have to pay the full amount back immediately. We have very few foreclosures happening, even though the number is increasing. Remember, a small number can show a large percentile change and still be a small number. I think they have the right thought process where they go, there's not enough deals happening. You need to get creative on how you can do more deals. We're not letting listings sit and expire. That's not what the listing agents are doing. The sellers are doing that because that person is not a motivated seller. Our goal as an investor is to find the motivated seller, the person who needs to sell their property. If a listing sits for a long time and expires and you make an offer even lower than what they were asking and they don't take it, they just don't need to sell. So I don't think I agree with that person. The dumbing continues. It's cheaper to refinance than it is to rent. I wish I could play crickets. It's cheaper to refinance than to rent. This is an agent that is giving advice to somebody. There are people out there buying or selling homes through this individual And that's the thought process that goes through their brain. It's catchy. It's cheaper to refinance than to rent. Okay, so why would you refinance? Right now, the majority of people, it's like 90% of mortgages. First, 43% of mortgages wow, words are hard on a Saturday, and they haven't even broken out the vodka yet. Can't drink all day unless you start early. But not today. Threw off the emperor's groove. 43% of homes in the United States don't have a mortgage. So no, it's not cheaper to refinance than to rent. They don't have a mortgage payment. All they're paying is taxes and insurance. 90% have a more current mortgage less than 5%. 60% it's less than 4%. And it's like 23% of mortgages are under 3% right now. So I want to say that person's name. I'm not gonna. Okay. Once again, the dumbing continues. Although actually, I'll take that back on this one because there could be a reason. This person says, the epic bridge loan collapse coming. LOL. Lots of love, right? Your Uncle Steve died. LOL. It's not what it used to mean. The epic bridge loan collapse coming. Okay, so my knee-jerk reaction there where I said, okay, the dumbing continues is because epic? How many bridge loans are there? But I'm thinking from my perspective. So I want to be clear here. This person could have a valid point. I buy 4 units or less. I was looking at some DSCR loans for 8 units or 10 units or less because I liked fixed rate debt. I don't do adjustable rate mortgages. I don't do loan reevaluation periods. I don't want to have a balloon payment. I fire and forget a mortgage, never think about that interest rate again unless rates drop. Then I might refinance without pulling any cash out just to lower the payment to increase the cash flow. Maybe this person, since this is a mastermind group, invests primarily in commercial lending. Apartment complexes, storage, mobile home parks, where, yeah, there are more bridge loans. They might have a point. Okay. This person says, so remember, this is what emerging economic trends are you expecting in 2024 that you're preparing for? That's the edited version that took longer to say than what the actual original post was. What are you preparing for? More buyers. There's plenty of demand. There's plenty of buyers. You're preparing for more buyers. If rates drop, yes, demand will surge, which could cause prices to come up. But I don't know that that's more buyers or the same buyers with more buying power. So not a bad answer, something to prepare for. This is what this person is preparing for in 2024. List price corrections and foreclosures. If that's your agent, run. If they're planning on foreclosures increasing to enough of a point where it causes list price corrections, then they don't understand that we're still at record low numbers of foreclosures and that people have equity. The reason for a foreclosure is you owe more money on the property than it's worth and you can't sell it. So the bank takes it back, sells it at a loss. That's not happening. This person is retiring after 25 years. Congratulations. You will love it. I've been here a year. A lot more than 25 years of working, but I invested for 8 years when I started focusing on finances. So if you've been doing this for 25 years, I wish you an awesome retirement. Michael Zuber says, every day is Saturday. I say every night is Friday night. It's amazing. I recommend it to everybody. It's actually why I'm here, trying to help more people get to this point. You don't have to quit work, but you might quit the job you have and go do a job that you love for the impact, for the feeding of your soul that it does, without having to worry about how much money you make. This is a great one because I've heard this one since 2015. This has been the reason for the housing crash since 2015. In 2015, it was called the Silver Tsunami. But this person who just woke up to the idea that people have an age said, downsizing baby boomers. I will reference, where are we at now? Where's the time on this video? Okay, I'll reference about 17 minutes ago. The rate lock. If you have a 4-bedroom house because you were working and you had kids and now you are a retired baby boomer and you want to go down to that 2-bedroom house because it does a few things, stops the kids from moving back in with you, is easier to clean, and traditionally in an uptrending price market with a downtrending rate market was a way to take equity to have a better retirement to buy a cheaper house. Well, now the rate is double what you heard me list off what the mortgage rates are at. This would be double the interest rate for most baby boomers who are retiring. Those downsizing baby boomers aren't downsizing because it doesn't save you any money. Turn your kids' room into a rompus room. They won't move back in. This one I agree with. I wonder where this person knows this phrase from, because I've only heard this as a Marine Corps analogy. The horn pulling in. Generally, somebody saying, pull the horn in, right? That means you see the stress tense change in the voice. It means to be more cautious. So when you pull the horns in investing or stocks or real estate, it means don't take as much risk, mitigate the risk better. In the military, it means, yeah, we're advancing, but silence the bugle because it's about to get real. Pull the horn in. This person, I think, has a really good answer. What trends do you expect in 2024? Emerging market trends that you're preparing for. This person says, leasing. Lots of leasing. Genius. We had over 6 million transactions year after year for several years, and now we're seeing that crash. The real estate crash is happening, so I agree with the crash bros, but it's not in prices, it's in transactions. We have less than 4 million transactions going on, meaning a lot of agents aren't doing a lot of business. So if you are a new agent and you don't have, again, the history, the reputation, the repeat customers, the agents working for you so you can survive on the income, or you didn't do what Stephan did, where he bought several rentals in the beginning of his real estate agent's career, so he'd have some consistent income to make up for the spikiness of a realtor's income. Stephan also talks about to a new agent what he did for the first couple of years as he signed a lot of leases. He helped people find places because those people become buyers a year or two down the road. This person should probably say their name, but didn't give me permission. It's on social media, but it is a private group, so I'm not going to do that. Lots of leasing. If you're an agent, start doing leases. Survive on a very little income that's going to generate, but that is going to create your buyers 2 or 3 years from now. This also, I think, makes sense. Navigating market cycles that used to take years happening in months, and normal high activity, spring, selling, buying season starting in January, February. If you're preparing for 2024, this is a cycle. It's a season. Yes, there's going to be a surge as we come out of winter. There'll be more transactions. I don't know that we'll go up to normal transaction numbers, but we'll go higher than where we are now, which is why this is the time of the year that I tend to buy most of my deals. That was true up until 2. I bought 2 deals in the summer. The rest, all of them were in the winter. Less transactions, less competition, less people making moves, easier for me to find the deal. Navigating market cycles that used to take years happening in months. I think that's true as well. I think YouTube University has changed things drastically. In 1997, Robert Kiyosaki wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it took 5 to 10 years for that book to gain popularity, for him to get onto the Oprah Winfrey Show, for it to actually get out. Because, originally started with Network 21, which was an Amway system for getting the books out there. But once he got on Oprah, the book took off. And then eventually people thought, wow, maybe my house is not an asset. Maybe if I buy property that produces income, that's a cash flowing asset. So it was a decade for that really to take into effect. Now in YouTube, when someone like Pace Morby comes out in 2015 to 2020, when we have an uptrending prices, downtrending rates, and says, hey, here's how you flip, and here's how you do creative finance, and you make $1 bazillion. It's quicker, right? Market trends shift. And now that we're not uptrending prices, downtrending interest rates, that might not be the best strategy to jump on board with. It happens quicker. I think that was a very smart comment. Then this person created a good debate with November 5th, 2024. So interest rates and gas prices will come back down. Not sure the presidency impacts interest rates as much as they impact the $1.98 we're paying for tax in 2020 that we're no longer paying now. So half true, half not, and some good comments following that, because no one wins when it comes to politics. What was the meme on Facebook? Make sure you talk politics at Thanksgiving because it'll save you money on Christmas. I'm almost done wrapping these up. Somebody says it'll almost like be beginning of 2021. They think they're preparing for the beginning of 2021. So let's look at that. Beginning of 2021, we were coming out of the eviction moratorium for everywhere but LA. And we were coming out of the stimulus. We were coming out of what else was going on there? Forbearance was ending. Interest rates were zero for the Fed, basically. So 3% or less. I refinanced a bunch of mortgages in 2020 to 3%, bought a property in 2021 for 3 point something percent. I should remember what that is. Cash flow is good. But if this person truly believes this is the beginning of 2021, do they expect 24 or 19% home appreciation in the next year? Are they saying you better buy quick because it's about to spike? Interest rates are going to double because that's what they did since 2021. I don't like the idea of that, right? Nothing should tell you to hurry. Nothing should tell you to wait. The two things that tell you when to buy real estate. Let me know if you want to know the answer to that. Sellers finally getting comfortable with lower prices and buyers ready to move as they psychologically comfortable with higher rates. I'll grammatically, I'm disappointed in my grammar here. As they become comfortable with higher rates. Buyers have short memories, and I think, yes, as a buyer, people get used to rates, start running things, rents might catch up. But buyers ready to, sellers finally getting comfortable with lower prices. It's not happening. There might be a few markets where it's down. Then there's a lot of people who projected prices increasing and then are going to lower back down, but it's still higher than where it was last year. The only thing that makes a seller comfortable with a lower price, there's only one metric. It's not comps. It's not interest rates. It's not anything but days on market. The longer a property sits on the market, the sellers are likely to do a couple of things. One, pull it off and keep it, turn it into a long-term rental, move back into it. Because they don't need to sell. They weren't financially distressed. A lot of people said, well, the rents aren't high enough. Airbnb is going away. And did you see that the judge in Dallas overturned, called it unconstitutional, that the city can't stop you from having Airbnbs? That court case is now set for, I think, June or July. So the big wave that everyone was expecting in Dallas has at least been pushed off a year. And it's really only a problem for the people who purchased in the last year or so that have the higher interest rates. If you purchased in 2018 or 2020, you either purchased in 2020 with a really good interest rate before the home prices spiked again and interest rates doubled and you have fixed rate debt. Or if you purchased in 2018 or sooner, you refinanced in 2020 to a low interest rate. So there's a lot of the Airbnb people who aren't going to make as much money if that goes away. They're definitely not turning their property into an alligator and then going to be forced to sell. But this person, I don't think that's a bad thought. I just don't agree with it. Doing more frequent, longer open houses on my listings since there may not be as many buyer agents. So this is pointing out that this is a mastermind for realtors, not realtors, realtors, two syllables. What does that bother me? So I'm not even an agent. I don't care. I think one of the reasons I'm not an agent is because NAR had a requirement that anytime you type the word realtor, you put the trademark and capitalize the whole thing. So F them, I'm not doing it. That's the one reason. It's actually a lot more than that. Longer open houses on my listing since there may not be many buyer agents. I've actually had a couple of people reach out to me recently, Captain Sags and some others, where the seller said, we're not paying the buying agent's fee. We'll just take that out of the deal. We'll accept your offer with some other things. So we take that out. To be completely transparent, the buyer has always paid the agent fees. Always. Yeah, it comes out of the closing table from what the seller would get, but the seller didn't bring that money to the table. The buyer did. So now I think there's going to be some really big shifts in how buying agents work with us as investors or home buyers. Our lending is going to have to include a caveat that says the buyer is bringing the money to the closing sale so that the seller doesn't feel like they are doing it. Questions about Our commissions due to all the lawsuits. Yep. Okay. Back to the dumbening. Lots of short sales and foreclosures with multiple offers, having contractors and lenders on hand and ready for 203K loans on a lot of these properties. My search criteria, here's the footprint I invest in. This in the beginning, this is the price range. Once you have rental income on 2 years tax returns, you get rid of that because you can buy basically anything as long as you have the down payment, right? I don't want HOAs. I don't want short sales, and I don't want foreclosures because the average foreclosure takes over 1,000 days to go through. 1,000 days. You want to wait 3 or 4 years for something? You want to tie your money up? Short sales? It's just a lender trying to get multiple offers to see which is the best, which they have 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. You have no idea when they're going to want to get that off the books. None of that happens quickly. And where are the foreclosures going to come from when everybody has equity? And I say almost everybody, unless you've bought in the last 6 months and now have to sell, that's not going to be a lot because he starts with they. Can't tell. It's one of those names like Dion. He doesn't tell you what color we are, doesn't tell you what gender we are. All the jokes that came to mind were inappropriate. So lots of short sales and foreclosures, okay? The dumbening continues. Not going to happen. New construction. Again, only if rates dip, I think. This person, none. They're not preparing for any. It's situation normal. Continue as planned. Hopefully more empty nesters deciding their homes are too big and expensive for them. So they're going to move into a smaller home that is more expensive for them because of the interest rates. And I think we are wrapped up on the dumbening continues. But there were some comments in there that I liked. I started this video with how my first agent basically would have bankrupted me because he was using cap rate looking at small multifamily. And it in absolutely no way whatsoever applies to small multifamily investing. He has 30 rentals, had 19 agents working for him, had retired financially free with real estate. Can you trust your agent? Are they smart or are they dumb? You don't know. Trust, but verify. You do the research. You learn your market. You learn your asset class. You are investing your money. You date your agent. You date your lender. You marry your investing. I'm going to look through the comments really quick and then wrap this up. Howdy, everybody. Thanks for hanging out on a Saturday. Yep. I have Chris. I have PTSD from being scammed by a real estate agent and mortgage broker. Major trust issues. Yep. Trust but verify. Alantino, howdy. Is it even worth it to get a real estate license for investors? I have a couple of videos on why I don't, Alantino. There's a long list of reasons why I do not want to have a license. I'll do that video. I'll probably do that, Alantino, Tuesdays live. I'll intro it. Am I an agent as an investor? Or should I be? And I'll give you the whole list there. I should write that down or I'll forget it. I'll do it afterwards. If smart means doing the least amount of work possible, my realtor is a genius. Awesome. Hey, we're same, but not my agent. It's me. Hello from West New York. I think that's what the W means. I am parting with my agent. All I asked for when I closed is a picture in front of the property with a sold sign. Is that petty? I never sensed that she had my best interest anyway. Nice. I think Yoder going forward instead of agent as an investor. Remember, home buyers have an agent. You're going to take up all their time. You're going to look at several properties. You're going to answer a bunch of questions. That person, that agent should protect their time with an exclusivity agreement. Totally agree. And as an investor, I won't work with an agent that requires one. I will sign one when we make an offer. Yes. If you've done the work and you're submitting the offer, I'll sign saying on this property for the next 6 months, if I close on it, it's going to you. Totally get that. But I have auto searches set up with at least 3 agents from different brokerages that have different access points to the MLS who send me different responses, even though some agents don't think that's how it works. All-nighter hider, I wonder how many real estate agents are living check to check and don't have the time to devote to current sale. They're hunting for the next one. They're hunting for the next job. That's how the crash and transaction is handling it. Ben, is this sponsored by Skull Vodka? No, this is going to be sponsored by. Yes, I do. I'm a fan of Skull Vodka, but this one is going to be sponsored by Alien because I've emptied it into the glass, which means I have now committed to drinking. And of course, Alien Vodka doesn't sponsor my channel. They just make these videos possible. How do you decide? Okay, Peter, how do you decide if you need to address a potential liability at your rental? For example, walking path in your front porch that has pebbles embedded on the cement that gets slippery when it rains. If so, Peter, or a small concrete two-step that I've fallen myself for being on my phone. And put up a no cell phone sign. That's not an answer. That's not a solution. Those are the things you consider. There's 3 forms of asset protection. Remember, I have a long list of reasons why I don't have an LLC. One of them is because there's absolutely no asset protection from having an LLC unless you have partners. Period. Come at me, bro. The counties where I invest, they don't pierce the veil. They use the 1996 IRS precedents that all single member and sole proprietor LLCs are disregarded entities, meaning they don't exist. Your assets are your assets. So I do have 3 forms of asset protection. The first one is insurance, right? Homeowner's insurance on each property. Once I had enough properties, I added an umbrella policy. Second is I like to have lenders, mortgages. Right? 6 of my 8 properties have mortgages, and putting the banks in first position. That's a form of asset protection. And the third one, the most important aspect of asset protection, is to be proactive and fix things that could be an issue. Yes, if you have something that is slippery, or if you know that someone else ever slipped there or you did, make sure that it meets code. How high is the step? Does it require a banister? Is there a non-slip surface? I actually just went and you can go, they don't have them at Lowe's, but they have them at Home Depot. Just put a link down below. It looks like a roofing paper, like the size of one triple tab roofing tape paper. The underside is sticky and the top has a yellow strip on it. And so you can put that on cement. If you put it on wood, I would then staple it too, especially if it's cold out. The stick won't stick too much. I forget what they're called, but I would put that on stairs or grind up the pebbles to make them rough. So you make sure they're not sharp, but make sure that they're not slippery either, and grind them in different directions. Yes, definitely. That would be priority number 1, right? So when my handymen and contractors, or I go to one of my units, they all have this checklist. First, they're checking for cleanliness, and not cleanliness because we care about the laundry, not cleanliness because we care about smudges on the walls. What we care about is soda cans on the counter, food in the sink, things that can cause a rodent infestation. Those need to be brought to my attention. They check things like, do doors and windows operate? They check things like, how is the structural stability of a banister, right? They don't even let the tenant know. It says as they're going up, they grab the banister as they walk the stairs and shake, and they give me a text report of the condition of the banisters and then my units that have stairs, right? So you want to be proactive on any of those kind of things. 100%. You said, how do you decide? I just do. If it causes a safety issue and you are aware about it, that is where the liability comes in. A safety issue you had no awareness of, yeah, you're going to be responsible probably for pain and suffering, but you're not responsible for negligence. Negligence happens when you know and don't take action. I have a phone call coming up in a few minutes. Who's that call back? Oh, yeah, I know who that is. Almost messed up if you're watching and we have the call set up. I said noon Pacific and you said, sure, 3 p.m. Eastern or something. And we had it backwards. I'll have to look that up, but it actually means 9, whatever, how we did it. Chris, they intend to say it's cheaper to buy at 8% now and refinance later than to just rent until rates go down. Ouch. G, 2026 gang, checking in. Peter, rental is in LA County. I'm very sorry. Move. I don't mean to be a jerk. When you're investing in a place like California, Michael Zuber lived in Sacramento, so he invested in Fresno. If you live in California, a lot of people say, I'm going to invest out of state because this state's too expensive. My brother invests in Kern County, just outside of LA County. Much more landlord friendly, much easier to find deals that cash flow. Didn't have an eviction moratorium that was basically determined unconstitutional everywhere else, extend for 3 years in LA. A very hard place to do it. So in LA, I think I would be even more cautious. 2026 checking in. We don't invest in Florida because we don't want gator properties. Nice. Hit the like button. For Millennial Mike, we'll SWAT your house. Awesome. And then I'll probably look through the rest of these and see if there's any comments to make a video on. Thank you for the Valentino for the topic for Tuesdays on, is it beneficial for an investor to be a realtor? And I'll probably put realtor in the title. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk. The dumbing continues.